One Piece chapter 1098 is out, and boys, this is a sad one. And before we get too into it, I do gotta ask something. Why does Oda hate Kuma so bad? Oda gotta hate him, right? This dude has had by far the worst life in this entire series. He was a slave as a kid who watched his parents get offed in front of him, then he was forced to fight endgame threats at like 8, and later, as we know, he was portrayed to be the villain after giving his body up to be the government's plaything. And now we got this. In this chapter, bro, Oda was not cooking. Like, he was, I guess, but like, man, why did he have to do this? So I can't say what actually happened on YouTube, but basically, Ginny, the girl who loved Kuma, got captured by the celestial dickheads, and because she was so pretty, one of the dragons made her their wife. Kind of like what we seen back at the Sada Baby Archipelago with the Snot Slurper himself forcing this nurse to become his wife just because he can. And next time we see Ginny, she has a deadly disease where she can't be in the sun, in a child, aka Bonney. Now the implications of this scene are so fucked up, but once you dive deeper, not only was Ginny taken advantage of, but she was probably used as a living experiment. Because before this chapter, Ginny probably didn't have this disease because we've seen her in the sunlight before. Which brings me to who I believe Bonnie's father actually is, Saint J. Garcia Saturn. The reason I think this is because, as we know, Saint J holds jurisdiction over the science branch of the government, which means he was probably the one experimenting on Ginny. He also seems to hold a weird hatred for Bonney, seeing as how in present time he is actively choosing to target Bonney. But the thing that would make even more sense to me is if the reason Ginny has this disease is because of the strange powers of the 5 Elder Stars. We have to remember they are yokai, and all I'm saying is, anytime a character in a yokai tale falls in love with or procreates with a yokai, they get some type of curse or just straight up die. But moving away from my theory, another big thing we find out is Bonnie's real age, which is 12. And yes, that is in the post-time skip timeline. Oda, you could've made her 18. Like, this isn't helping the anime community's image, which is already horrible. But I did manage to find one positive thing about this chapter. So if I remember right, in the pre-time skip, Blackbeard captures Bonney, and while she's tied up, tells her to become his girl. And girl is the right word, buddy, because Blackbeard, you are hitting on a 10-year-old that you just tied up, which further proves my claim that Blackbeard is a weird beard, creepy pedo. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, this is still not a good look for Oda. Like, I swear Oda didn't decide Bonnie's age until this weekend, has got to be looking back at some of these panels like in shock. Also, real quick, I've been hearing people call Dragon, Luffy's dad Dragon, a fraud just because he didn't save Ginny. Like, bro, huh? My bad, you right, this dragon from a 14-year-old flashback should run straight into Marijois, take on the 5 Elder Stars who just one-shot Sanji, all the admirals, and Im by himself. You right. People forget in the span of 2 years, Luffy went from Arlong level to Kaido level. Do not act like Dragon hasn't gotten stronger in them 14 years. Look, all I'm trying to say is, let's not be ridiculous. Give it time, Dragon will do something. He isn't the most wanted man for no reason. And before we end the video, let's talk about how sad this chapter actually was. It went from Kuma learning about what happened to Ginny, to him going to find her on a second's notice, to him not hearing Ginny's final words, proving how much she actually loved him. And finally, it led to Kuma raising Bonney along with the village, to which we find out Bonney actually has the same disease as her mother, which turns into probably the saddest thing in this entire chapter. The reason Bonney is called Jewelry Bonney is because Kuma tells Bonney that her skin disease isn't ugly and that they are her jewels. Man, This panel made me tear up, I can't even lie, but what made some of these panels even more hard-hitting is how this chapter was actually released unfinished. Now this wasn't on purpose obviously, as Oda even apologized, but man, seeing Kuma breaking down and crying while the quality of the panels slowly deteriorate made this chapter 10 times more heart-wrenching. As stated by Bob Ross himself, in art there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents, and to me this chapter turned out amazing. But hey, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments how you felt about the chapter, and please subscribe to the channel. Anyway, like the vid, sub, appreciate y'all, deuces.